All right, so I'll do a quick live summarizing what I just touched on the last live. I found a very interesting quote as I wanted to talk about that the 10 tribes are actually in Africa. And I was looking at this quote from Flavius Josephus, and I think it's important to break this down because I thought this was interesting. There's a saying by Flavius Josephus that goes, let me go to it real fast. And basically, this is the main thing that many people quote: the 10 tribes are beyond the river Euphrates until now. So, usually, when we think of the river Euphrates, we're going to think of up here. So, are they going to be north of the Euphrates or south? Now, we have to look at the context. Let's look at what the context here, and we're going to see which direction is actually going here. Let's look at this. So this is a letter. First, it's going to talk about the letter from Artaxerxes that's going to be pretty much given to Ezra. We also see this written in Ezra 7 right here. So it's going to talk about that in Ezra 7. And you're going to see it's going to talk about that decree and everything given to Ezra to bring judgment. You got Artaxerxes there giving it to Ezra and everything. And then Ezra's going to receive that decree here. So you can see where it says, "And do thou, O Esdras, appoint judges according to the wisdom given thee of God, and those such as understand the law, that they may judge all Syria and Phoenicia. And do thou instruct those also which are ignorant of it." Go over a little more. And if he just goes on, talks about the same thing that's in Ezra, pretty much giving them all authority and everything. And he says, "For farewell." Let's read this part. When Ezra had received this epistle, right? When he got this, he was joyful, he was happy and everything. But notice what's going to happen here. Now he's going to get important information. Remember where he's at and remember what he's going to do here. And began to worship God and confess that he had been the cause of the king's great favor to him. Amen. And that for the same reason he gave all thanks to God. So he read the epistle to Babylon, right? Now note where he's at. He read the epistle to at Babylon, right? He read the epistle at Babylon to those Jews that were there. Now notice that he's saying they are in Babylon. Now you gotta also know the time frame, the map in the time frame. So here's Babylon during the time of the Medes. Let me get closer to this map. So you can see here, this would be where the Medes were taking over here. So they would have been around these areas here for the sake of understanding. So they would have been in control of these areas. Let's go back. So you can see, he says, so he read the epistle at Babylon to those Jews that were there, but he kept the epistle itself. So he kept the epistle. Now watch what happened here. And sent a copy of it to all those of his own nation. Notice where they are. That were in Media. Now we can go back to the map. You can see here, this would be the Median area. You can see a good idea for that area. So he's saying he sent some copies to them of Media. Okay. Says, and when those Jews had understood that what piety the king had towards God and what kindness he had for Ezra, they were all greatly pleased. Nay, many of them took their effects with them. Okay, they're going to leave somewhere. They're getting ready to leave somewhere. Let's go a little bit over. And came to Babylon. So they took their effects with them and came to Babylon. So notice what it said here. They came from this area and went to Babylon. So you see right here was Babylon and everything. So they're coming down. So they're going downward. Note that they left this area and they're working their way downward to Babylon. Okay, let's go back. Watch what it says here. Okay, to Babylon as desirous of going down to Jerusalem. So they're desiring to go downwards to Jerusalem. That's southward. But then watch what it says here. But then the entire body of the people of Israel remain in that country. So where do they remain? Right here. Let's go here. Let me close some of these. I just realized I got a few of these open. All right, so let's take a look here. So they're not yet passing the Euphrates. They're here in the area where you'll see Babylon. So you see Babylon here. Maybe it's a closer look. So Babylon's going to be over here, and then they're gonna be able to cross the Euphrates. So they haven't yet crossed the Euphrates. They're still on the side of Babylon. Right? Watch what happens here. It says, wherefore, that's where we see right here. Okay, right here. Going towards Jerusalem, but then the entire body of the people of Israel remain in that country. So they remain in Babylon. Wherefore there are but two. Notice what's in Babylon, what in these areas. Wherefore there are but two tribes in Asia and Europe. Only two tribes in Asia and Europe, subject to looms. It says, and that's basically Romans, subject to the Romans. While the 10 tribes are beyond Euphrates till now. Now, note what they just said about the 10 tribes. They're beyond the Euphrates till now. Now, we're going to note which way they're talking about. Are they talking about north of Euphrates or south? And for the sake of understanding, it's going to be south because it says these are the only ones in Asia and Europe. And which way is Asia and Europe? Up here. Very important to understand that it says only those two tribes are in Asia and Europe. And beyond the Euphrates is going to be the other tribes. Let's see what's going on here. It says, so subject to the Romans, while the 10 tribes are beyond Euphrates until now and are immersed multitude, basically in numerous multitude, in multiple amounts, right? And not to be esteemed by numbers. So they're not to be counted because there's a lot of them. Let's go over it a little more. Watch what it says here. Now, there came a great number of priests and Levites and potters and sacred singers and sacred servants to Esdras, right? So he gathered those that were in the captivity together beyond Euphrates. Now, pay attention to how this is worded. So he gathered those that were in the captivity. So they know who was in the captivity together beyond the Euphrates. Now, what is he saying here? He's saying that they crossed the Euphrates now. That's what he's actually saying here. It's important to understand how that's worded. And we're going to notice, I'm going to show you how we know that that's being said in that way. So he's saying that he took the captivity, all of them, and they gathered on the other side of the Euphrates. They crossed the Euphrates now. How do we know that that's what they're saying? That they gathered together beyond the Euphrates and stand there. Where are they standing at when they're standing there? Beyond the Euphrates. So he gathered the captivity together beyond the Euphrates. So they crossed the Euphrates and they stand there 3 days. So they stayed at the Euphrates. Watch what happens here. And they did a fast. They ordained a fast for them that they might make their prayers to God for their basically making prayers and everything and what's going on about the enemies. Let's go over a little more. Let's see what happens on the next piece of journey. For Ezra had said beforehand that he had told the king how God would preserve them. And so he did not. So he had not thought fit to request that he would send horsemen to conduct them, right? He don't need no support of anything. Watch what he says. So when they had finished their prayers, watch what it says here, they removed from the Euphrates. Now notice what it's saying now. It's saying that they're already on the other side. He didn't say that they removed to cross over the Euphrates, but he said they removed from the Euphrates. So first he gathered them. Let's go back to the other one real fast. Let's go back and I'm going to show you a different thing that's going to show you the same thing. So right here, he says, so he gathered those that were in the captivity together beyond the Euphrates. So he brought them to the other side of the Euphrates. And then on the other one, we see that they're moving from the Euphrates. So they're moving from the Euphrates on the 20th day of the first month of the 7th year of the reign of Xerxes, right? And notice they're going southward, right? It says, and they came to Jerusalem on the 5th month of the same year. Now let's look at something. I want to show you something to show you that this is sure. So this is Flavius Josephus, the new complete works of Flavius Josephus. I want to read you something here. So here's a little bit of touch on that same thing. So the major one you want to pay attention to was right here, right where it says this, wherefore there are but two tribes in Asia and Europe. So only two tribes in Asia and Europe. Only two tribes in Asia and Europe, right? Only two tribes in Asia and Europe. And it says, subject to the Romans, pretty much. While the 10 tribes are beyond the Euphrates. So they're not in Asia and Europe. They're beyond the Euphrates till now. Now let's read this right here. I'm just going to give it a little more clear. It says, so there are but two tribes in Asia and Europe, subject to the Romans, while the 10 tribes are beyond the Euphrates until now. See what's going on there? We also can continue on, and it says, when it goes on, it talks about them in multitudes. Now there came a great number of priests and Levites and potters and sacred singers and sacred servants to Ezra. So he gathered those that were in the captivity together beyond the Euphrates. See what he's saying there? He's gathering those, and they crossed the Euphrates. That's what he's saying there. Gathered them to the Euphrates and stayed there and stayed there. See what he's saying there? And that there has to go to that right there. That's why that comma is there, because it's talking about he gathered the captivity beyond the Euphrates and stayed there. So they went across the Euphrates, but they didn't continue on. They went across the Euphrates and they waited there and fasted. It's kind of like what happened with when you think about Joshua. It's like they crossed the river. They crossed the river and they took a moment to focus on the Lord. That now they're free. They're able to go and go do this thing, to go to Jerusalem and prepare themselves. So they're headed south. That's what's going on here. So it says, so he gathered those that were in the captivity together beyond the Euphrates. So he gathered them together beyond the Euphrates and stayed there. So they stayed beyond the Euphrates and ordained a fast for them, right? And they've had the fast and everything and all those things. Let's go down a little bit right here. So when they have finished their prayers, they removed from the Euphrates. So there they removed, and notice what it's saying there, from the Euphrates. If I'm removing from the Euphrates, I already crossed the Euphrates. That's why it's saying, and remember, it's letting us know the 10 tribes are not in Asia and Europe. So they actually are at the Euphrates and they left from the Euphrates. So it's letting us know right here, it's actually letting us know and understanding. Let's go back here. As it says, wherefore there are but two tribes in Asia and Europe, subject to the Romans, while the 10 tribes are beyond the Euphrates until now. They're beyond it. They're not in Asia and Europe. They're beyond the Euphrates until now. That is in complete agreement with what the Ashkenazi was writing when they write that the Talmud said that they are actually in Africa. Because I was wondering, I was saying, is this actually saying, like, when you think beyond Euphrates, does that mean like northward? All right, that's good. That means there's a lot of people could be mixed with them, but it's actually letting us know it's southward. It's southward of the Euphrates, not northward. Northward would be Europe and Asia. So this would be Europe and Asia, which would be northward of Euphrates. But on the other side of Euphrates would actually be Africa, and as the other statements were saying in the previous video when we went to the end, yes, that's in agreement with what the other one was saying. Because I was just curious when I was seeing that. I was like, doesn't that seem like a contradiction if one says it's in Africa and one says is in Europe? If it's saying north, if it's saying on the other side of Euphrates, because I was thinking it's saying on the other side of Euphrates, like Israel, other side is being northward. But when we consider that the Jews, their cells were actually up here, and they're talking about the other side of Euphrates as being the opposite side of where, then it comes into understanding what was actually going on here. So I just wanted to show that's just another confirmation that shows that the 10 tribes were actually in Africa. So with that, family, I just wanted to show that real fast. So be blessed, be beloved, and amen. Oh, wait. Make sure I didn't miss any questions. So, okay. Let's see. But the Negroes are settled in Europe and Latin America too. That's a good question. Okay, so how are the 10 tribes in Africa, but the Negroes are scattered in Europe and Latin America too? So Europe and Latin America. Now the Negroes, you gotta remember the way that they were scattered in all nations. It first began not just with the transatlantic slave trade. It actually began with what few people know as the Islamic slave trade. I'm gonna show a real quick video real fast. Few people actually know about this slave trade, but I'm gonna show you a real interesting video real fast to a play thing here. So on here, something I was noting for a while, the Islamic slave trade. Let me just grab that one from here. Just looking to see where it is, because that one I added a little later. Just seeing where it is. Hopefully I added it. I'll click on this, maybe. Maybe it's on this. If not, it's just basically, it's something on the Islamic slave trade. No, it's not this one. Not this one. Let me see. Just taking a look, because maybe I put it on a different place. All right. I'll just summarize it. Pretty much the Islamic slave trade is one of those events. In fact, it's right here. It just didn't. I don't know why it looks like that. It doesn't look like a link. Let me show you 855. Okay. I want to show you something real fast.
Oh, hi everyone. Rings a bell for many Americans. What's less well known, because it historically precedes it, and perhaps because of politics, is another act of slavery. Quite shockingly, this slave trade involved about the same number of people, 11.5 million Africans enslaved. The gender ratio was reversed because the purpose was still, and I'm getting to who these people were doing this, like there was still some field work that they were being slaves, I'll say that they as, but the primary purpose was household labor, household servitude, and women for their care. So that's why there's this 2-to-1 female to male ratio. Basically, it began in the 600s and went to the 1800s. So instead of lasting just 300, 350 years like the transatlantic slave trade, it lasts 12 centuries. And the geography of this slave trade is oriented differently. Obviously, this is the 600s, and the old world, where the new world exists, they're not going to be sending slaves there. Instead of this is across the Sahara into Europe, into the Middle East, and such. So now that you know the direction, our viewers might say, yes, it exists. And the red here is some of the geographic ground of this kingdom, a series of kingdoms. What I'm talking about, of course, is the Islamic slave trade. Muhammad rises in the 600s and and his followers eventually begin to conquer North Africa, Middle East.
Did you put shoes on
They
here?
reach Spain. They're in Spain for hundreds of years. In fact, the last, so in about the 700s, the Islamic raiders and people pursuing an Islamic kingdom arrived in Spanish, the Iberian Peninsula. They were there for several years. They were finally pushed back out until after Columbus arrives in the New World. So they're sitting there, not just the Arabian Muslims, but the slaves for hundreds of years. And a lot of the slave trade even continues into the 1800s.
All right, my bad. I realized that sound wasn't working, but this is a little interesting little video. You should see it. How to silently take over a country by Answers in Genesis. Go to 855 and check it out. It talks about the Islamic slave trade. And pretty much if you really break it down, a lot of these were actually Israelites. A lot of these people that was taken in these areas was actually Israelites. It's mentioned in a lot of the written of the Quran and different things like that, and different how you call them, some of their leaders and stuff that writes and says they was actually persecuting a lot of the Jews, and a lot of the people of the book. That's actually what they was actually persecuting a lot of. And you can see that they're going to be brought up being all in these different areas. And that's why a lot of them went in different areas. A lot of them were trying to get back down here, not here, where a lot of this was going on. A lot of this slavery was going on. That's why when it was pushed out of here, like the Portuguese Jews, when they went down here, they actually went down because they didn't want to stay in these dangerous areas. They want to went lower into these lower areas. They just want to be more safer with some of these things going on. So that was I guess a little bit to that. I'll just close that. So basically, the best way to summarize that, how they sent into those different areas, is that's just following history of Portugal's and all the slave trades that had happened during time. So I guess it is with that. But in the sense, to leave this with a note, what we just did, basically, we just came to the understanding that this certain writing, this certain one right here, it's just important to note when it says beyond the rivers of Euphrates. That's why it's good to always understand the context of what's being said. Beyond the rivers of Euphrates, actually going southward into Africa. So with that, family, be blessed, be beloved, and amen.